Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be a new What If. This is going to be part 1 of What If Goku was born with God Ki. So with that being said, if you do enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe. With that being said, let's jump right into it. So from his childhood, this really wouldn't change much or anything at all. He is still placed in the very low levels of the Saiyan children because, as we know, Scouters or anybody really can't sense God Ki, therefore he'd be stated to have a power level of 0. His hair every once in a while would spike between being red and black, and his eyes would change color, and nobody would really know exactly what it is that is happening, but just like in the original, he ends up getting sent off the planet by Bardock, and he gets sent over to Earth. So, when he does arrive at Earth, Gohan still ends up finding him, and he basically starts growing up like that for the first few years of his life. But one day, when he gets pretty angry, he actually activates that red-haired form once again, and a few days later, somebody shows up to his planet, or to his house, I guess you could say, or where Gohan lives. And so, this is actually Kami. He had sensed Goku and the God Ki that he was emitting, and actually just came over in order to try and basically see exactly what it was that was going on. After understanding the situation, he asks Gohan if he can take him back to Kami's lookout in order to basically train, get stronger, and try to get his power under control, because he basically has no control over it, and he could pretty much accidentally destroy the planet if he accidentally lost control. Gohan decides to accept this, knowing that, that's pretty important, and this is Kami, a very trustworthy person, and so he gets sent off to the lookout with Kami, where he basically begins studying and training for the first couple years of his life. Until he was around the age of 10, he basically studied and trained with Kami in the arts of basically godship and everything like that, and he actually does manage to learn to control his god powers, being able to willingly go into what he calls the red-haired form, but we all know as Super Saiyan God. And so, Goku would once again return to Grandpa Gohan's house, who is still alive, because he never went Great Ape or anything like that, and actually had his tail removed by Kami a long time ago, so he doesn't really even have to worry about something like that happening anymore. And so, the original story of Dragon Ball would begin, where Bulma would arrive, Goku would get the 4-star Dragon Ball, and head off with Bulma in order to search for the rest. Goku, even in his base form at this point, is just stupidly strong. In his base form, I'd probably put him around a power level of maybe 1 to 2,000, just because of all of his training with Kami, along with the fact that he has God Ki and the exposure to higher power levels. Basically, even though he's only 10, his power level is stupidly high at this point. And so, this first journey would be absolutely nothing to him. He'd easily defeat anybody that he came across, be it the Pilaf gang, Yamcha, and pretty much anybody else like Puar and everybody like that. And so, when they do eventually get and find the Dragon Balls, they actually do get their wish, and Goku doesn't really have anything to wish for, so Bulma ends up getting the wish. And what is she gonna wish for? Maybe a perfect boyfriend? She never ended up with Yamcha here, because Goku kinda just, dicked on him. And she doesn't really want a lifetime supply of strawberries, and so this is actually ends up being what she wishes for. She wishes for the perfect boyfriend. And something actually does happen here. Shenron says, "Your wish has been granted." The Dragon Balls fly up into the sky and scatter, and a young teenage Vegeta is standing in front of them, really confused, wondering why he just got sucked off the planet he was doing his mission on, and looking around to see exactly what it is that is happening around him. And so, as he looks, he sees a young boy who looks pretty similar to a Saiyan that he knew back in the day, and this girl who's pretty much staring at him with wide eyes. "Oh, you must be the perfect boyfriend," as Bulma runs up to him, trying to hug him. Vegeta pushes her away and charges a ki blast in his hand in order to basically just, eliminate her. He doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. But Goku stands in his way, his hair flickering red. As he does so, he stands in front of Vegeta saying, who exactly are you? And I'm pretty sure you're her perfect boyfriend or whatever, but why exactly are you here? What is your history? And so Vegeta decides to basically calm down, and he explains to them exactly who he is, what he's been doing, and they explain to him why he's basically here, and Vegeta's kind of annoyed by this, but can't really argue because what he's told about these wish-granting orbs is that they can't really make a mistake. And so he decides to get with Bulma, and he end up basically training with Goku in the meantime. And so they're basically just training and getting to know each other a little bit better, and eventually the Tenkaichi Budokai, whatever you want to call it, would actually arrive. They never ended up going to train with Roshi or anything like that, and so when they enter the tournament, Krillin and Roshi are still there because Roshi would have entered in order to defeat Krillin, but he's not gonna win. So basically the brackets would go in where Goku and Vegeta would be fighting in the finals. Goku had just defeated Master Roshi, while Krillin was just defeated by Vegeta in the semifinals. And so they would begin their fight. Goku and Vegeta, both in base form at this point, would charge at one another, and they're not equal. Vegeta is a decent bit above him because they've only been training for a few months at this point, if anything, and so Goku wouldn't have had the time to catch up in his base form. That would obviously change after not too long, but Goku powers up into his Super Saiyan God form, and that gap is immediately just absolutely massive. Goku gets... I'm gonna discuss what exactly I want to say the multiplier is, which I'm gonna say it's around probably 20,000 or so, which is, that's pretty high. So Goku would go from a power level of around 3,000-4,000 to a power level of between 60 and 80 million. And so this immediately makes the gap in their power just absolutely immense, and Vegeta doesn't stand a even slight chance against him, and so he is easily defeated, and Goku is declared the winner of the Tenkaichi and actually ends up winning the prize money. And so a few more years would pass by. Everybody has pretty much just been training and doing whatever they pretty much want to do. Goku has been training with Kami, while Vegeta ended up going to Capsule Corp and has been basically a mixture of training and basically hanging out with Bulma and everything like that, actually starting off his character development that he basically didn't get till, the Buu Saga, basically. He's around at that point, right now, because it doesn't take as long for him to develop. He was still a kid, basically, when he got here, and so it's more easy to change everything about him for him to be able to adapt to this new kind of lifestyle. And so, with this happening, the next tournament would arrive. This is the one where people like Ten Shinhan and everybody like that would enter the tournament, but it doesn't really matter. Once again, the tournament goes exactly the same. Vegeta would easily defeat anybody he came across, and it's the exact same for Goku. They end up facing each other once again in the finals, and Ten Shinhan doesn't really have any, talk no jutsu, I guess you could call it, or anything of that sort. He got a little bit from Master Roshi, but it isn't, the same thing that Goku gave him in the original, where he, does a complete change, but he does have that idea in his head that maybe this isn't the best path for him to be on. And so Goku and Vegeta would begin fighting, and Goku's base form here is actually above Vegeta's. You may be wondering how exactly this even is. Well, Goku, being, a little bit more matured now and actually growing into a more teenage body because of the fact that he actually ended up using the time chamber, and he actually was able to use it for an entire year, not just a few months, and so he actually has a teenage body already at this point. And so with that, and also the fact that he's been training with Kami, along with the fact that he has God Ki, and he was training in the Room of Spirit and Time, these factors would combine to put Goku easily in base form in the millions. And this means that if he, for some reason, decided to go into his Super Saiyan God form, he would be just pretty stupidly strong. And so he pretty easily manages to defeat Vegeta here, and Vegeta asks him, what is that form and how are you using it? Goku explains that, at least what Kami told him, he had it from birth, but maybe if Vegeta ended up training with him, he'd be able to access a form like this, or, maybe even the same form. And so Vegeta would go with Goku to train with Kami, and Goku would actually spend his second year in the time chamber in order to try and train Vegeta in the form of God Ki. But he doesn't really know how to do it, but Vegeta manages to evolve in a different way, his own way. His way of basically trying to catch up to Kakarot or Goku would actually be to transform into a normal Super Saiyan. He doesn't get Super Saiyan God or anything like that. That's not really how it would work with gaining God Ki, but Vegeta's drive to try and catch up with this person that was just so far above him would actually allow him to get the Super Saiyan form. And both of them in base form are probably around a power level of, like I said, in the multiple millions at this point. We'll say Vegeta is around Namek Saga Goku, like 3 million. Well, Goku is probably around 10 million or so, and this is in base form. Just keep that in mind. Just because of how stupidly overpowered God Ki is. This is a low ball, mind you. Like, probably be more so around 100 million, maybe even a billion at this point, but we're just gonna say that for the sake of, smaller numbers are a little bit easier to, go with and do math for and everything of that sort. And so the next Tenkaichi would actually be able to, arrive and everything like that. Or not the Tenkaichi, sorry. It's actually the Piccolo arc before that. But since, they weren't really friends with Krillin and Master Roshi and all of them, when Krillin and Master Roshi went to try and confront, Mr. Piccolo, or whoever you actually want to call him, he actually just kinda kills them. And when they exit the Room of Spirit and Time, Kami basically explains what is happening to the world, and that it is in complete chaos because of his basically evil side or other half. And so, with Goku obviously knowing who this was, Kami probably would have told him about him, like, a long time ago. He would actually fly down to Earth, and together with Vegeta, it would be no contest, even if he wished for his youth, which he probably did at this point. It wouldn't matter at all. With their power levels at this point, it doesn't even matter. And so, Vegeta is about to go for the kill on Piccolo, but Goku stops him, holding out his hand and saying that if he kills him, then basically what is going to happen is Kami will die and the Dragon Balls will be gone. And so, Vegeta holds back his hand and says, okay, then what are we going to do with him? And this is where Kami arrives. He performs the Mafuba onto, Mr. Piccolo, and Piccolo is sealed inside of the Mafuba. And so, with this actually happening, now we can skip to the Tenkaichi Budokai. There's no Piccolo Jr., and after, the Dragon Balls were recreated by Kami, everybody got revived, and so Tenshinhan and everybody else would be alive and at the tournament. But, as most of you guys would guess, it is going to end the exact same way. Goku and Vegeta fighting each other in the finals, starting in their base form where Goku has a massive advantage, and Vegeta would transform into his Super Saiyan and actually gain the advantage for the first time they've basically fought ever. And so Goku decides to power up, and he goes into Super Saiyan God. His power easily enough to absolutely dwarf Vegeta, and he basically one-taps him out of the ring. And so, now what exactly would happen next? Where we're going to get a little bit of a time skip. Now, it's not going to be as long as the one in the original. This is because Vegeta brings up Frieza once again to Goku and says, we are more than strong enough to defeat him now. I'm a Super Saiyan, and you are even stronger than me. We have no reason not to go and confront him at this point, and so they would gather the Dragon Balls. They wish any remaining alive Saiyans to their current location, and so Broly, Paragus, Raditz, and Nappa, and Tarbell, I guess, would all arrive on the planet Earth and be looking around confused. However, that is where I'm going to leave this part off. Sorry for a little bit of a cliffhanger with, Broly there, but I'll see you guys in part 2.